Okay, moving along in the Orchos Yosher about Atzlus and ZERIZUS and being ALACRITY, he writes the following: V'omru, it says in the Gemara, Eina Shechina shoyra miteich Atzlus. The Shechina, the divine presence, will not rest upon a person if they are in the midst of or in the state of Atzlus, of laziness. Laziness is the exact opposite of the Rabbi Shalom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo yisham lo yinam v'lo yishan. Yeah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't rest. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't take a break. He keeps going and going and going and going. And therefore, a person wants to be mizdavik. They want to attach themselves to the Shechina. So we have to emulate the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One of the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that He's a constant force that is always going in this world. A person that settles into the state of atzlus, of laziness, so he is disconnecting himself from the Shechina. There's a famous ma'aseh with the altar of Kelm. The altar of Kelm was a man that never had any ounce of atzlus, of laziness in his life. He was always, even though the halach is brought down at the very beginning of the Shulchan Aruch, that when a person wakes up in the morning, you have to be misgaber kari, you have to strengthen yourself like a lion. And you should leap out of bed basically to go and serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Mishnah Berurah brings down over there that pause for a moment, because the rush to the head that's going to happen if you jump out of bed immediately, it's too much for your head to handle. You might end up getting sick. You might not feel well. So the Rav Chaim is giving, an Eitz HaTov is giving a good piece of advice to make sure that you ensure your health. The altar of Kelm, when he would wake up in the morning, he would jump out of bed immediately. So they asked him, well, it says you're supposed to wait for at least a moment before you jump out to make sure you're okay. He said, that one moment could be because I'm lazy, that's why I'm not getting out of bed right away, so I have to go immediately. So he had a heart condition, and he would have sometimes like mini heart attacks. And it can happen any time of the day. He could be walking, he'd have a mini heart attack. He could be giving a drush, he'd have a mini heart attack. He'd be learning, he'd have a mini heart attack. So the rule in yeshiva was that if he was giving a drush or a shmuz, a mussar shmuz, and he would have one of these mini heart attacks, and he would fall to the ground in the midst of the heart attack, nobody's allowed to touch the altar of Kelm. You're not allowed to touch him. You want to call out Salah, you call out Salah. You want to call Sherman, whatever, call them. No one is allowed to touch. He has to get up on his own. So the story goes that he once, in the middle of a rousing mussar shmuz, ended up having one of these heart attacks, and he fell to the ground in a faint. And of course, all of the yeshivas gathered around him to see if the Rebbe was okay. And suddenly, as he's lying there on his back, he opens his eyes and he screams out, Atzlus! Laziness! And he jumps up and he continues giving the drasha. So they're saying over here, Eina Shechina, the Shechina itself, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he cannot dwell and rest upon a person that is living in a state of atzlus, of laziness. And then he comes and he says, if you look inside Mishlei, I'm not going to go through all the verses, but if you look inside Mishlei, there's a slew of psukim, of verses that Shlomo HaMelech King Solomon says that degrade and scoff at and make fun of the person who is in the state of laziness and doesn't move ZERIZUS with alacrity. But I do want to quote the last few, because on that he's going to expound upon. The last few psukim that he quotes are the following. Omar Otzel, the lazy man says, Ari bachutz, there's a lion outside, b'seichra chayvais, in the streets. If I go out into the streets, the lion's going to come and devour me and I'll get killed. The guy's living in Manhattan. He's in the concrete jungle. There's no lions in the jungles. However, he says, I can't go out onto the street. I can't go to shul because there's a lion in the street. Maybe he's going to eat me up. That's one pasuk. Says for the Amar Ansel, the lazy man says, Shacha baderech ariben arachayvais. He tells him that there's like a young lion that's on the road. There's a lion between the streets. We'll see what the drush is on that. And then he says, Hadelis tisay v'alatzira v'otzel amitasay. The door turns on its hinges. However, the lazy man, he remains in his bed. V'amru Chazal, and these are famous words in the Midrash. Shiva devarim amar Shlomo ala otzel. There are 7 things that King Solomon said about a lazy man. If you open the Mesilas Yesharim about ZERIZUS, you will see that he goes through this as well. And he says, what does he say? Uma shama Moshe Yagolu mikulam. Ketzad, what are they? Rabcha be'ir. They tell the lazy man, your Rebbe is in the ear. He's in the city. Go and learn Torah from him. Lech u'lemay Torah imenu. V'hu meishivos, and he answers them. And he says, Misyarani min ari baderech. I'm afraid there's a lion on the road. You know, the streets of Tarzana, California, they're wild streets. You never know. From Nessel to the Avenida Hacienda, you never know what's going to happen along the road. I can't go to the shir. They tell him, don't worry, it's not like he's in the city, he's actually like in your little province over here. He's very close. So just get up and go to him. He tells him, no, there's lions amongst the streets. Never like this. What are you talking? He's right by your house. He's right by the door. Just go out and you'll meet him. But there's a lion outside. If I open up the door, I'm going to get eaten alive. So listen, we're taking away every single excuse that the lazy man has. So we tell him, look, your Rebbe's in the city. No, you can't go because you're afraid you're going to get eaten up. He's on the street. Maybe the lion's in the street. He's outside your door. You open the door. Maybe the lion will pounce on you. So listen, my dear friend. The Rebbe is in your house. He's in your house. Just go and learn from him. And he says, no. He says, look, maybe I'll go. Maybe he's in his room. Maybe I'm going to find out that the door is locked. Then I have to go all the way back. Can't get in. I have to go back to my room. I'm not interested in doing such a thing. They tell him, no, you don't have to worry. The door is open. Your Rebbe's sitting at the table. The Gemara is open. He has another one waiting for you. Just go sit down and learn. Says the lazy man. And he says the following. However, the lazy man says, that's okay. I'll just stay on my bed. If he doesn't know what to answer anymore, they tell him that your Rebbe's in the room, the door's unlocked, you can go and learn from him. He doesn't know the answer. So he answers, he says the following. Finally, he owns up to his laziness. Whether the door is open, whether the door is locked. I'd just like to sleep a little bit more. Listen, when we get down to the bottom of it, it's not because I'm afraid of the lion. I'm not afraid of the cub. I'm not afraid that the door is going to be locked. I'm very comfortable in my bed, in my home, on my couch. Lazy boy recliner right now. The game is on. Sunday afternoon football. What do I have to leave for? Minayin shenema ad masay otzal tishkav. So how do we know such a thing? Because it says, lazy one, how long will you end up lying on the bed? Amad mishnasay babayker, nasnu lefanav la'echol, whom is atzel lasay satachpiv. It's so bad that the guy wakes up in the morning, you bring the food to his room, and he just can't bring his hand to put the food into his mouth. Minayin, how do we know that? Shenema, like it says, Taman atzel yoda b'salachas, the lazy man buries his hand in the plate, nila la'ashiva al pib, but he can't get the food into his mouth. Ve'eze shvi'i mecharef atzel la'yachresh v'shal b'katzer v'ayin. Fine, that's another pasuk. Anyway, the Shlomo Melech who says over there about the lazy man. Baruch Hashem, they're not lazy out there. But Shlomo Melech says about the lazy man that he has every excuse under the sun of how it is that he can't go to do what's supposed to do. At the end of the day, when you push him against the wall and say, what can I tell you? I'm happy in bed. I'm comfortable in my house. I'm in my pajamas already. What do you want me to do? And this, the pasuk is saying over here, is Ginu. This is something that is disgraceful in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, we'll continue, Be'ez Hashem, probably with some more peace and quiet tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem.